So Tim's unconscious, right? She takes a look at him and she rolls him over off the road into a ditch. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie if you're new here. Today we have a really fun video. I've been craving peanut butter snacks lately, so I thought I would give this recipe a try. I'm going to be making peanut butter chocolate chip bars while talking about an interesting Canadian true crime case. We're going to be talking about Robert Pickton, one of Canada's most prolific serial killers, aka the pig farmer killer. Alright, let's get started. So I have my mixing bowl over here. The oven is already preheating, so now I'm just going to be adding my ingredients. I have half a cup of butter already melted here. I'm just going to pour that in. And now we need a heaping 1/3 cup of peanut butter. I'm using this brand. Alright, so let's talk about Robert Pickton. Robert Pickton was born on October 24th, 1949. He was born to Louise and Leonard Pickton. His parents owned a pig farm in Port Coquitlam. The locals call it Poco. It's a town about 20 miles outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. Not much is known about his early life except that he and his siblings would work long hours on the farm. His mother would even pull them out of school in order to work on the farm. So he described it as hard and difficult. It seems like his mother was really the key parental figure in his early life. As a child, Robert was also known to be slow, quote unquote. He did fail some grades. And he had really bad hygiene, unfortunately. Even though he did work on the farm, his hygiene was really legendary, supposedly. He always smelled of manure and he was just funky. Apparently he also had a fear of showers and he will only take bath when he got forced to do so. So I'm going to be measuring the peanut butter. I have 1/3 cup over here and some peanut butter here. From my research, I couldn't really find any evidence of abuse, whether that's physically or otherwise. However, there is this childhood story that Robert likes to share that really sheds a lot of light on the mother's character. So when his brother David got his license around the age of 16, one day he took out his father's red truck to, drive around town. And unfortunately, he ran into the neighbor kid, Tim Barrett. So the truck slammed into him and Tim was unconscious. So Dave was understandably scared. He ran home to get his mother. So Louise comes to the road, the site of the accident, takes a look at Tim. And you think, okay, well, she's going to call the cops, right? She's going to notify the authorities. She's going to get Tim some help. She's going to help the neighbor's kid. But no, she doesn't. She takes a look at him. Tim's unconscious. Ooh, okay. Concentrate, Jessie. So Tim's unconscious, right? She takes a look at him and she rolls him over off the road into a ditch. She rolls the kid that her son just ran over into a ditch. And then Louise just went home. Dave took the car to the mechanic to fix the dent that was caused by the accident to hide the evidence, right? So the next day comes. Tim's parents notify the police. Eventually, they do find Tim, and he's dead at this point. And autopsy shows that the cause of death was not the injuries sustained from the car crash, it was from drowning. So Louise basically just killed the neighbor's kid. Now, they were able to trace it back to the car accident, and Dave ended up going to juvie for a few years and nothing happened to Louise. So that gives you some idea into what kind of person she was and how she must have influenced her sons. Alright, so this is one heaping 1/3 cup of peanut butter, and let me just put that in with the butter. And now we need 1 large egg. The thing about baking is that there is so much mess created, like all the time. I'm just going to mix this one a little bit and then we can add in the brown sugar. So that's pretty much all we know of Robert's early childhood. All right, so let's fast forward to the 1990s. Around the mid-1990s, women started to disappear from the downtown east side of Vancouver. If you guys are not familiar with Vancouver or even Canada, the downtown east side is one of the poorest postal codes in all of Canada and the poorest postal code in Vancouver. Really shady, sketchy area. It's rampant with prostitution, drug addiction, homelessness. It's just a really, really bad area. And unfortunately, a lot of these sex workers had to engage in prostitution in order to support their drug abuse. So the women that were vanishing from the downtown east side were mainly prostitutes, and they were reported to the police, the Vancouver PD, as missing by their family members or friends, and basically the police did not care. They didn't give a damn. The prevailing thought at Vancouver PD's management was that, oh, so-and-so's missing from the downtown east side? Yeah, they just left town. They went elsewhere. Don't worry about it. So the families of these women know that that's not what happened to their loved ones. And sometimes when they get reported, the Vancouver PD would take months to fill an actual missing person investigation. One of these girls was Marnie Frey. Marnie would always keep in contact with her family and she never missed a birthday. So when her family reported her missing to the Vancouver PD, they knew something was wrong. It was absolutely unlike her and she didn't just go somewhere else, but the Vancouver PD was dismissive. So that's what that looks like. One of the detectives, Kim Rosmo, actually did a statistical analysis of these missing women because, like I said, the management prevailing thought was, oh, they moved elsewhere. And the number 2 theory was, oh, no body, no crime. No crime scene, there's nothing to investigate. Nothing happened to them. So the detective, Kim Rosmo, did an analysis of these missing women from the downtown east side, and he found that the number of people missing were statistically significant. So his analysis showed that they didn't just move elsewhere, that these numbers were not normal according to historical trends. Something else was going on. The community knew something was happening, and they did suspect a serial killer was afoot. So now I'm going to be adding some brown sugar. We need 1 cup. By now, Robert and his brother owned the family pig farm, and they were actually quite wealthy from selling portions of the land to developers. It's interesting to note that even though they were wealthy, Robert still had a notoriously bad hygiene problem. And it will be described by pretty much everyone that he encountered with. Robert was the person who mainly took care of the pig farm, and the pig farm had a revolving door of employees working for them. This would come into play later on. These employees involved women and men who were mainly down on their luck. One of the ex-employees would describe that he worked for Robert because he was in a time of desperation. He had just gotten out of rehab for, I believe it was heroin addiction, and he needed a job fast. And Robert was there, and Robert was able to offer him a job and a place to stay. Okay, I have 1 cup over here. let's fill this bad boy up. Oh. All right, we have 1 cup of brown sugar. Put that in. And also we need 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna go wash my hands and we can mix everything. So Robert had several really good female friends, and they would describe their relationship as just friendship. It was not a romantic relationship of any kind, purely friendship, which to me is really, really interesting for a serial killer, unlike the other cases I know. Keep in mind, these women were also down on their luck. They benefited from the friendship with Robert because all of them needed something, whether it's a place to stay, whether it's a job that they desperately need, or even drugs. Robert would supply a lot of his friends and employees with drugs to fuel their drug addiction. However, it's interesting to note that he never took the drugs himself. So here we go. It's mentioned that he was actually in love with one of his female friends, and he almost proposed to her with a ring, but she shot him down pretty much immediately. Okay, I'm just trying to get rid of the lumps in here. There's some sugar lumps. During this time, Robert and his brother also converted a barn, a slaughterhouse, into an illegal nightclub. It was actually registered as a non-profit organization. It was called Piggy's Palace. So they would throw these crazy raves pretty much all the time, and it was known to be frequented by gang members, Hells Angel members. They would invite prostitutes, lots of alcohol, and lots of drugs. Allegedly, off-duty police officers also attended these parties. I should have sifted this. Oh man. Alright, so I just got 1 cup of flour, and let's sift that in right now. Oh no. Okay, here we go. And we're just going to mix until everything is combined. That's what that looks like. I'm so excited for this. I've been craving peanut butter lately. All right, so that's what our batter looks like. Okay, and now I think we can fold in some chocolate chips. I'm using semi-sweet chocolate chips. All right, so that's 1 cup of chocolate chips. I mean, I feel like it's a lot. That's what our batter looks like. I feel like this is enough, to be honest, and I'm going to stop here. We still have a little bit more chocolate chips left. I'm going to be sprinkling this on. All right, I have my prepared baking pan here, and let's just dump our batter in. Go. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. That's what that looks like, and let's sprinkle some chocolate chips on here. There we have it. That's going to the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. While that's baking, let's talk about Robert's first major run-in with the law. So in 1997, he went to Downtown Eastside to pick up a prostitute. Her name was Wendy Lynn Einstetter. When Wendy got into Robert's truck, she immediately felt something was off. Number one, he was dirty as hell, so she didn't really want to go in. But the money was good, so she decided to go with him. Once they were in his home, Wendy noticed a butcher's knife on the kitchen table. Once again, it was quite odd. Afterwards, Wendy asked Robert if she can use his phone to call her boyfriend, and he said, okay, go ahead. So she calls her boyfriend, and as she's doing so, she notices that Robert starts caressing her hand, and all of a sudden, he smacks a handcuff onto her. A fight immediately ensues, and she suffered multiple stab wounds, and he suffered multiple stab wounds as well. She fought like hell, and she was actually able to escape his home. So she's running out of the farm, finally gets onto the main road, and she's able to flag down a couple in a car. So they were pretty scared of her because she was carrying a knife, naked, and just covered in blood. As soon as she drops the knife, they realize that she's in danger. So they drive her to the hospital to get treated for her wounds. Coincidentally, Robert gets treated at the same hospital later on. Robert had the keys to the handcuffs on his person. One of the hospital staff was able to open Wendy's handcuffs with his key. He was arrested for attempted murder. However, he's able to leave on a $2,000 bail. But what's infuriating about this case is that it was dismissed later on because she was a drug user and was not a credible witness. They didn't believe that they were able to get a conviction, so the charges were dropped. I don't know about you, but what? Like, he tried to kill her and the charges were just dropped like that. But you see, that's his plan, right? His plan was to pick the specific type of people marginalized by society so he could do whatever he wants with them and he can get away with it. And he did in this case. He literally got away with almost murder. So more than 12 women will go missing from the Downtown Eastside in 1997. In 1998, one of these girls who would go missing was Sarah DeVries. Sarah was charismatic, vibrant, and beautiful. She was also a poet. She was adopted to a Caucasian family in the suburbs of British Columbia. She was a visible minority, a mix of Hispanic, Black, and Aboriginal, growing up in a mainly white neighborhood. She didn't feel like she fit in and actually ran away from home. She ran away with her then boyfriend, who would later become her pimp, and would fall into drug addiction and end up in the Downtown Eastside. Sarah vanished in Sorry, that's the oven. Ooh, all right. Here we have it, our peanut butter chocolate bars. This looks so good, but I'm just going to let it cool for now. So Sarah vanished in 1998, and one of her clients was madly in love with her. His name was Wayne Lang. So Wayne was madly in love with her, and however, she didn't feel the same way. And after she disappeared, he would search for her relentlessly. He put up posters all over Vancouver. He started a tip line. He also started a website for her, and it drew quite a lot of attention, in fact, international attention. And America's Most Wanted actually did an episode on Sarah DeVries. From all of Wayne's efforts, he was actually able to receive a tip from someone who worked on Robert Pickton's farm. And this person was Bill Hiscox. Bill heard from Lisa Elks, who was close friends with Robert. Remember how I said that he would have multiple really close friendships with women over the years? She was one of them. So Bill heard from her that she saw really suspicious things going on the farm. So for example, a lot of women's clothing, a lot of their belongings, a lot of random IDs laying around on the farm, so she was suspicious. However, when the police later followed up with her for a statement, she said she saw nothing, she heard nothing, nope, because she was very anti-police. She was basically at the police, I didn't see nothing, I didn't hear nothing, nothing. So unfortunately, that was a dead end. By now, Robert was on Vancouver PD's radar, and they would eventually also set a surveillance team on Robert. However, it seemed like Robert knew that he was being watched, so they weren't able to find any evidence. So by now, the Vancouver PD were taking these cases of missing women seriously. They were looking for around 50 women from the Downtown Eastside. So in February 2002, the police finally were able to get Robert on a search warrant for illegal firearms on the farm. What they found was so much evidence that linked back to the missing woman. It would take the team multiple years to sift through the evidence. In fact, when Robert finally went to jail, the entire case cost British Columbia over $100 million. So it was ginormous. Some of the evidence they found on the farm were belongings from the missing woman. They found an inhaler from one of the missing women. They found IDs. They found body parts in trash bags. They found human remains all over the farm. Robert was apparently feeding his pigs the remains to get rid of the evidence. They also found that human remains were ground up with the pork that he was selling to the public. Yeah, just so much evidence from the farm, right? So Robert Pickton actually confessed to an undercover cop that he wanted to make his kill count an even 50, but he was getting sloppy. It was really despicable. The trial of Robert Pickton was quite controversial. He ended up being convicted of second-degree murders for 6 victims. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for 25 years. That's the longest sentencing that he could have gotten at the time. However, he was charged for an additional 20 murders, but they were stayed by the Crown. The judge said that it will be too hard on the jury to try him on 26 charges all at the same time, so they could do that at a later time. However, he was never tried on the additional 20 murders. Another reason that they gave was that, well, he's sentenced to life, right? Like, he can't get any more than that. Personally, if it was me, I would want him to be convicted of the murder of my loved one. And it doesn't matter if he's sentenced to 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes, 1,000 lifetimes. I want on the record that he murdered my loved one. Of course, I can't imagine what the victim's family went through and are still going through to this day. So whatever they feel best, I completely understand and agree with. After the trial, the Vancouver PD actually put out a public apology to the victim's family, stating that there were mistakes made throughout the investigation, and obviously it was completely negligent. They also had a missing woman inquiry looking into law enforcement response, as well as a formal investigation into Vancouver PD management at how the cases were handled. In terms of the victim's family, they did file a lawsuit against the government, and each of the victim's children was able to get $50,000. Obviously, no amount of money can replace a human life. However, I am glad that they were able to get some sort of restitution. Alright guys, I think this is ready to be cut, and I'm going to have a piece. It looks so good. Couple other points from the case. The fact that only Robert was convicted. However, remember, Robert and Dave, they both owned the farm, but there wasn't enough evidence to convict Dave. However, most believe that he either helped Robert or he knew about the crimes happening on the farm. And what makes this theory even more believable is that Robert's brother Dave was also convicted of sexual assault in the past. And he also frequented the Downtown Eastside. Why wasn't there any evidence to convict Dave as well? So he's completely free right now. So weird thing number 2 is that, remember those raves that Dave and Robert would throw at their farm at Piggy's Palace? Well, allegedly, off-duty police officers will frequent those. So why did it take so many years before Robert was put on their radar? All right, let's give this a try. I am super excited. Oh my gosh. It's really good. It's so rich and soft. Alright everyone, that's it for me. Please let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this case, and I will see you next time. Bye!